And just a little bit of lack of torque there. And Zach mopped it up.
Go for goal.
Young Billy.
Billy, go for goal.
I tell you what, he's
got it.
He's got it. He's probably a little bit lucky he didn't run too far. He took a lot of steps there. So, Billy Bice, number 7.
That's number 2.
Second goal for the day. Yeah, it wouldn't be much time left, and
What's your assessment, Beth? Special comments, Beth Sampson.
17-15 to 5-7.
yeah, nice win by Marble Range.
That's sure. Very good.
A lot of Marble Rangers in the cars too. A bit of tooting happening there, Beth. What do you think? What's your assessment of that game?
Very good. Good oval, no wind.
It was a great day for footy.
Great day for footy, and our boys performed.
Who have you got a best on ground?
Tyne and Keely's kicked 6 goals.
Yeah.
Billy Bice.
Billy
Bice is in it. They've all been in it.
Yeah, Gil Casanova.
But that Cooper Miller.
I tell you what, he was probably didn't play enough to get in the best players, but what we saw of him is really impressive.
Very impressive. Well, for a 15-year-old playing A grade and this standard.
That's right.
Of play and game. Because it's not country football.
No, there's a lot more than country footy these days.
It is more than country football. So I've got to write that down so I can tell Wally.
You can take that with you, Beth.
Good job, Dipper. Thanks very much.
Thank you, mate.
Brilliant. Good job. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
Hope they bring home the bacon for you.
And I'll get some photos and some stuff going about my history.
Great. I'll come round tomorrow.
Kopai. They've got the barley in and it's coming up.
Yep.
We've got the vetch is coming up.
Yep.
The wheat is still being put in. Oh, there's just a few notes on there. I was going to be organised. Do you want a bit of raisin toast?
Oh, no, I'll be fine, thanks, Sarah. I'm going to sit there.
Where do you want me to sit?
No, you stay exactly there. That was the idea. Thank you very much.
No reflection off there.
Let's have a look. That Dino I met yesterday, he's your, son-in-law? Or?
Dino? No, that's our grandson.
Oh, he's actually your grandson, right?
He's our eldest grandson.
Oh, is he? Right.
He's very respectful of us.
Yeah.
He's a great kid. When his mum was living up in Broome, he came back and lived with us at the farm.
Oh, yeah.
Because Tanya was heading back down south and she wanted him to get high school tuition for as early as he could.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed having him stay with us.
Yeah, it would have been terrific. Yeah. So like a son.
All our grandchildren
Yeah.
are like close family.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
And it is wonderful.
Yeah.
The whole 12 grandchildren are really close to us.
Yeah, well, I know Jake's terribly fond of him.
Hello, what's happened there? Umpire's thrown it out to Matty Sampson. He's thrown on the boot, put it out in front of Nails. Good defensive work from Freeman. Jake Sampson's picked it up.
Dale Montgomery gets dodged
Put
around.
it out in front of
Oh, good spoil by Dylan Montgomery.
Ty McKenna. He's had a shot at goal.
For the game and kicks a goal.
Yeah.
And, yep.
Right, so that's lovely. Excellent.
Who's that number 12? He's not bad on the eye.
Yeah, if he had a haircut, we could see him.
That's young Kobe Sampson. That's Beth's grandson.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you were living on the farm whereabouts at that time?
At North Shields.
At North Shields. You were there for how long?
From Christmas 1990 to about 2007 when we shifted to Dutton Bay.
All right.
The boys, the family still own the property. We don't own the property, but our family do.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah, great.
there's still an interest.
Yeah. Well, continuity, that's magnificent.
Yes.
So you've certainly, well, Wally was like, oh, look, you know, I'm just a humble person who's never done anything sort of thing.
He set up an empire for his children.
Yeah, brilliant.
He always said when we got married that his children would not have dirt floors. Mm-hmm. And they'd always have a roof over their head and have comfort. And he supplied it.
And they did.
He did.
Fantastic. That is a real magnificent story, that is.
So therefore, as they got older, if they needed help, he was able to give them help.
Great.
And they all own their own properties.
And confidence, because they all seem quite confident, the Sampsons.
Oh, they get that from me. They get that from me.
Oh, okay, yeah. No doubt they do, Beth. No doubt they do.
No. It's combined effort. You want
I'm
to
going to have to sit probably just there.
Yeah, I'll shift that.
That's not really too much of a bother to me. It's more this on the chair. I didn't want to sit on it.
No, put it over there.
And put it over here.
Anywhere out of sight.
Yeah. I think we're pretty much, yep, that's okay, that's okay.
Yeah, I made notes for Wally's family and for his story for later on. So I've got bits and pieces everywhere because when we shifted I couldn't, I had to find places for them to put them away. So later on when I finish my quilting episodes,
Yes.
I'm going to finish my father's last 10 years of his life, his story.
How long have you been working on that?
Well, I've got it rough copy.
Oh, right. Well, How many pages?
Too many. I've got to condense it.
Thank you. So, this guy's had a fair bit to do with Pa over the time that he's been supporting the Mar Range Football Club. I remember when Goldie first came to Port Lincoln, he's certainly a guy that creates a fair aura around him. So I'd just like to make welcome the previous president of the Mar Range Football Club, Brian Gould.
We have a players auction every year, and Max always goes to it, along with Beth and the rest of the tribe. And we always put in the netball players with the football players. We always have a lot of trouble getting rid of the netball players because nobody wants them, but not Max. He's got that many of in his family that he buys the bloody lot. Always good for about, $500 or $600 out of Max. It's fantastic.
Anyway, what have we got?
What have I got? Well, my heritage started back with my dad's family, of course, who was a Scotsman, came out from Scotland.
You don't know which bit?
No. Glasgow, I think.
Yep.
Or somewhere there. And he came out to Australia and he met a widow, Maggie Gordon.
Yeah, that microphone, I'm just going to shift it to there. I can see it's going to be a better spot. Yes, sorry. Yes, Gordon.
Met
Classic Scottish name.
Adam Lindsay Gordon. She was a widow of Adam Lindsay Gordon. They lived down on Riddox Farm.
The one and only.
The one and only. And they got married and had 7 children. She was very small in stature. There he is, Peter Lowe, a Dundee. There you go.
Magnificent facial hair.
He had one shave in his life. Didn't like it, so he threw the razor away. Never lost his brogue.
No.
Never lost his brogue.
No.
But, and there's Maggie. She was 4 foot nothing.
But fiery 4 foot nothing, possibly.
A fiery 4, yes. Adam Lindsay Gordon once said that she had more pluck in her. She had more pluck than he had in his little finger.
Right, I'm just going to tilt that camera down on what you're looking at a bit more.
So.
Are they real pot plants, Beth?
2 are.
Oh yeah. You're going quite well then. So I was going to say, you've got vivid green there.
Well, I had to fill that corner in.
Yep.
Because Wally's chair's gone.
Oh.
I've taken the table from over there.
Yep.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. I see.
If we have friends and family in, we'll sit at this table. And yeah, there's a lot of history there.
Great.
Yes, Peter and Maggie had 7 children. But before we get there, that's the headstone at Bordertown Cemetery.
Yes.
And the Conniver children were given a grant to do it up because it had got into disrepair.
Disrepair, yep.
And there's my dad down there, standing next to it. And there's the Conniver children that helped to renovate the area.
So Victorians.
Victorians, yes. So there's
Never
Peter
mind,
Lowe's.
I have Victorian blood too.
That's fine. They were good kids. Dad and I went and visited the school to say thank you.
Yeah.
These are the children that Peter Lowe and Maggie had. She had 2 sets of twins.
2 sets of twins?
She had 2 sets of her. She had a daughter by Adam Lindsay Gordon, but she passed away when she was only about 10 months old.
Yeah.
And when she married Peter Lowe, she had 7 more children.
Of course, twins were a surprise in those days.
Well, they were in ours too. I didn't know I was having them until the day before I had them. And that was in 1966.
A lot of work, apparently.
They are. So I had 6 kids in, 7 years or something.
Oh my
Anyway.
Goodness.
But she had, and my dad, there's my dad there. His father was Peter.
Yeah.
And they called him Lynn. So that's where my heritage started, and there's my dad.
And where your stamina came from.
That's where the stamina came from. And Maggie was riding a horse and they had to cross the Glenelg River. It was in flood. And Adam Lindsay Gordon and her had to cross it to get where they were going. And that's when he said she had more pluck in her body than he had in his little finger, because she wasn't a very tall person.
She was diminutive.
She's very diminutive. Yeah. So, and my father had a lot of achievements in his life.
He did, because I've heard about some of them, but you tell me.
Oh, well, he was a Masonic Lodge man. He was a tennis player, and he always said if he had the advantages that young ones have had today and had coaching, he could have been up amongst the topper players.
Yeah. But Port Lincoln, particularly then, was a long way away.
Port Lincoln was a little country town not known of. They lived on a farm, they didn't have any money.
So, of course, you were showing us the pictures there of Bordertown, Conniver.
Yes.
And when did he come over this way?
But when Dad was about, my dad and his parents came over in about Dad was about 11, he was born in 1916, so about 1926, 27. I believe they came from Bordertown to Eyre Peninsula because their farm at Canawigwa was not big enough.
And that's right, there was land opening up.
And there was land opening up over here. So they came and lived at White's Flat, and then...
They cleared it?
No, I don't think they did have to clear too much, but the Depression hit. And he died... Peter Lowe, Dad's dad, died at 59 years old of age, and the Depression hit, so Dad had to go out to work. He was a shearer.
How old?
Well, young.
Mm-hmm.
He was a shearer, he was a woodcutter. Mm-hmm. He used to cut timber for the Todd Reservoir for charcoal, because the engines at the Todd Reservoir used charcoal as steam for steam.
Yep. And that was, what, 1926, I think, when that started?
When that started, well, he was too good because he got the sack, because he had too much cut. And they couldn't use it all at once, so he went out fencing, went shearing, helped build, he and his older brother Colin helped build cement tanks at Streaky Bay.
Yep.
And
there was a lot of that going on.
A lot of that sort of thing. They had to go away to get work. And then he met my mother.
Whereabouts?
I believe in Cummins. She was a Cummins girl. She was a Trigg.
Ah, yes, good
My
name.
grandpa was Arthur Trigg. and they married in 1939, Depression year, before the war.
Yep.
And
They got married in Cummins? Or?
got married in Cummins, and settled at
whereabouts?
White's Flat.
Settled at White's Flat. Do you know which church they got married in? Or?
Yes, the Methodist Church at Cummins.
Yep.
And then little Beth arrived in 1940.
Ah, yes.
Helen
Whereabouts?
Port Lincoln Hospital.
Port Lincoln Hospital, yep.
And then my sister arrived in August 3 years later. So that was our little family at White's Flat, and I went to the White's Flat school.
Which was how many students?
Not many.
20 or so?
No,
10 or so?
10 or so. Plus. Kids used to come to school on horseback.
Yep.
I walked.
Well, that was the lucky ones, they had horses.
They were lucky. They were lucky.
How far did you walk?
Oh, about a mile.
Oh, well, not too bad.
No, just up the road. We only lived up the road.
Yeah.
But
How long did the White's Flat school stay open?
not very long because of lack of students. Mum boarded the teachers
Oh, really?
when we were young. And then from when the White's Flat school closed down, we went to Penindi School. And
Which was bigger?
a lot bigger. And we went by bus on a bumpy, corrugated, potholed road. We knew where all the bumps were, we knew all the corrugations were, but we had fun.
What sort of bus was it?
Older than the one that Sampson's had in the town. An old yellow one. Mr. Mowat, he owned them.
And he did the driving?
He did the driving, and Mr. Weir drove. We had other drivers, yeah.
Now, were the kids very well behaved, or they were a bit
Had
rowdy?
to be.
Yeah,
Had to be. You had to sit down, behave yourself. And then one night they put one lad off one night because he wouldn't sit still. He was a naughty little boy, and he got put off and
Had to walk home?
had to walk home. And in those days too, if there was somebody coming out from Port Lincoln, because a lot of people didn't have cars,
Yes.
we'd have passengers
And the school bus?
on the school bus.
Yep.
Not very often, but just occasionally.
Yep.
But then the getting back to
White's Flat?
White Flat, my dad was only a share farmer. Had a lot of land to share farm, but he was very successful at that. And in 1952, we went to Coppio to live.
Ah, which is a beautiful part of the world.
Which is a beautiful part. And this was his farm. So we went to Coppio school.
How many kids?
More than White's Flat.
But less than Penindi.
And we had to ride a bike 5 mile. And you did it. More corrugation, more potholes. We did it every day. But I was only there for 12 months because in 52, I was in grade 7. So from there, I did 12 months correspondence at home.
Really?
Yeah, but I wasn't a good student on my own. I wanted to get out in the paddock.
Yep.
Because I was always outside playing if I could.
Active person.
Well, I seemed to get into trouble in the house, so I got out.
Right. Too active.
Too active, yes. So I'd get out and I'd play down the creek and I'd
Roam.
roam.
Wonderful thing about growing up in the country is roaming.
And shooting the birds that were supposed to pick, they were picking the fruit and all those sorts of things. And getting out in the paddocks.
How far would you roam?
Huh?
Because we used, growing up in the country, we used to roam for miles and miles and miles.
Oh, I didn't roam for miles.
No?
Just in the main paddock. But one incident, a lady next door rang. It was a north wind. Dad was out in the paddock. Mum and Helen and myself were home. It must have been a weekend. And this lady rang up and said, "The fire's escaped." She was burning rubbish in a bin, in a 44-gallon drum, as you did in those days.
Yeah.
So we hopped in the Jeep and off we went. And we had wet bags. Thankfully the grass was low. And we put it out.
As you did.
As you did in those days.
Were they bags on sticks or just bags?
No, just bags.
Wet bags?
Just wet bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Elbow grease?
bashed it out. And it was only low grass, so it wasn't. It could have been nasty. But anyway, that's just one incident at Coppio. So then the next year, in 1954, I went to Port Lincoln High School. I boarded at the BCA hostel and loved it. Really loved it.
Good people.
Yes, there was about 28 of us girls there.
Having a frightfully good time?
No.
No?
We were very well disciplined.
Oh.
I did try to buck the system.
Yep, because you got to.
I pulled into gear quick.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So who ran that show?
The Bush Church Aid,
Right.
BCA hostel. It was run by the Church of England. Very successful operation
Whereabouts?
in Port Lincoln.
Yeah, I mean,
in
whereabouts?
Queen Street.
Yep.
And the house has just been sold as a private residence
Oh,
again.
really?
Yes. In fact, a lot of us girls are still in touch with each other. And one girl lives up the road. She and I shared a room.
Wonderful.
There was about 5 of us girls in one room, 2 in another, about 5 in the sleep out. And then the senior girls were in a big dormitory. And the matron lived down in the house. And she had a helper. Miss Beck was the lady that was our original carer. And then she got an assistant, Miss Dorothy Doover from Victoria. And dear thing, we used to give her heaps, but she used to say, "You girls, please don't tease me." You girls. Yes, you dear thing. So every so often we have a reunion, and it's surprising the bond that we all have, even with the older girls that were there before us, and the younger girls. We're all hostel girls. We all had to wear our uniform. We all had to dress correctly. We had to do our own washing. We had meals supplied. I mean, the sandwiches weren't too much though. Usually baked bean, and you had about 4 beans and a bit of tomato sauce in the sandwich. But never mind, we survived.
You survived?
We had good meals at night time.
Yep.
Always started with a prayer and a song.
What was the food?
What was the food? Basic. That's all I'll say.
Meat and veg.
Meat and veg, basic.
Well,
and sweets.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Oh, really? Yep.
But hey,
What'd you do for fun?
we survived. We made a lot of fun ourselves. We were very studious. We dressed neatly. Our uniform was the black box plates, white shirt, tie, white socks, black shoes.
Do you have a picture?
And we were the neatest ones in the school. We got rubbished a lot
Yeah?
because we got called the penguins
Because
of our dress.
yeah.
But we had to go to church every Sunday. Church of England, there was Church of England girls, there was a Catholic girl, and there was Methodist girls. And we used to walk. I was there for 3 years at the hostel. We walked to school, we walked to church, we walked back again, and we never got into mischief. I mean, the boys followed us sometimes.
But you were supervised all the time?
Oh, yes. Oh, we were. Yeah, we were. But
What about sport and
some
stuff?
of us used to lag behind. We played netball, tennis. I didn't know how to play netball until I went to high school, and that was too late. I wasn't really interested in netball because if you played netball on Saturdays, well, Saturday morning you'd have your hair done to go out Saturday night.
Right.
And your hair got wet, so you didn't have a nice hairdo. So I didn't play netball very much. And
Tennis,
but I
bit
loved
like your
tennis.
dad? Yeah.
Bit like my dad. I enjoyed tennis. I was not top lady, but I was second and third in our teams, and I enjoyed that. But I never ever. I started playing tennis when I was about 12. Never ever won a Saturday premiership. Never ever. When I played for White's Flat and when I played for Coppio. Never. But hey, a lot of people don't win football premierships. The Coppio courts were 2 asphalt courts, and there was a clay court at the back, but they never got that. They never got that sealed.
Did they use it?
No, not to play tennis. But our association was White's Flat, Coppio, North Shields, Ede Lilly. I think that was it. I can't think of any others.
Wasn't Yolanda Flat or anything?
No, Yolanda Flat was in the Cummins Association, and Tootinilla was in the Port Lincoln. So But we had fun.
You would have had terrific fun.
Beautiful afternoon teas because
Oh.
that was always a competition.
It was it?
Oh, of course it was a competition.
Who was
As-
best at it?
Well, I just enjoyed eating it. It didn't worry me who was the best.
You don't remember the local champion who it was? Right, now have you got any photographs in those times?
Not sure.
That's
Because they're all mixed up from when I was looking for Wally's.
yes. Yes, these are very familiar.
These are all Wally's. I think most of these. Yes, these are us.
Oh, what's that who's that little footballer?
That's Wayne. That's our middle child. There's our eldest lad, Kevin. There's Fiona, Tanya, Wayne. Kevin was born in April 1960, Fiona in March 61, Tanya February 62, Wayne in 1965, twins in November 66, and Paul was born in 1969.
Where were you living at the time?
Wally, when we first were married, we went to Copiaho to live. We went to Warramboo to live. We share farmed, and Wally was there for 2 years. I was there for 18 months because he went up before we got married. And then the taxis called.
Yes.
So that's when Wally said, well, his father wanted to get out, and he and Jackie wanted to build up that business together.
Which they did.
Which they did. And so that's the reason we came back to Port Lincoln.
Tell me about
1960.
the Warramboo Ball.
The Warramboo Ball. We went to Warramboo and I made that dress and made the top, and quite proud. Well, I didn't know how to sew it really when I got married, but
You did well.
I had all these children and we couldn't afford to buy too many clothes in the shops. I didn't have a lot to do with the running of the taxis.
No.
That's our daughter Fiona was a flower girl in a wedding, so we lent her dress to another girl, and the flower girl dress got worn by quite a few.
So that's a terrific little photo. Look at the little boots.
Oh yes, yep. Oh, and there's the twins.
Yep. So you were pretty much in Port Lincoln when all the kids...
Oh, we were.
Yep.
Yeah, but we bought a house in Dublin Street.
And you'd done well, of course, at Warramboo, and we're quite lucky to have that nice...
That was because the good years set us up.
So you were able to buy...
£2,960 we paid for that house.
In...
1960
In
Dublin Street.
In Dublin Street, yeah.
I think it was number 30, I don't know. It's still up there. And then Mr. Sampson came along and said, this chap's looking for a big yard to put his trucks. So we had a house on a four-piece block that went right through the road. And our house was in this corner, and Sparrow said, he wants to buy it. And I said, we just got there. Anyway, we sold it, doubled our money, and bought a house in Liverpool Street, where Tajay was. Right next to another family's house. And
that's where the kids were
that's where we had...
pretty much born? Well, raised?
Kevin was born in Woodner. Fiona
really?
and Tanya were born in Port Lincoln, and when we lived at Dublin Street. Then we lived in Liverpool Street, and we had Wayne, David, Grant and Paul.
Good work. Lots of work.
And that was only a small house, but we sold that and doubled our money. And in what year did we move? We bought Tennyson Terrace. We bought a house in Tennyson Terrace in 1971, the year after we sold the taxis. So we shifted to Liverpool Street.
And you were there for not that long?
Well, we were there until we went to Sojourner in 1977.
So 6 years?
And then came back in 81 and we lived there.
Oh, that's all right, yeah.
We lived there, and then from 81 until 90 we stayed there. And then in 1985 we bought the farm out at North Shields, 100 acres, which was owned earlier by Wally's uncle.
Right, so that was terrific.
So we've kept that in the family, and it's still in the family.
Still in the family.
Yeah.
Good achievement.
A family trust bought it. Our family trust bought it, and that's where it is today. So we don't have any monetary connection with it at all.
But a huge sentimental connection, because you were there for how long?
Sentimental. Well, we were there from 1991 to 2007, when we went to Dutton Bay to live. And from Dutton Bay, we lived there until we came in here 4 years ago. Which was, because in hindsight, which was a good move.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave. I love Dutton Bay. But that's
Tell me about the house.
Well, we designed it. It was a transportable. It came over on a truck. And I don't know where those photos are. It came over on a truck in a one lift and put on our block, and the rest is history.
Loved
and
it.
Then we loved it.
Tell me about the...
diary, I've got photos of it with the garden in front of it. You can have a look at that later. What's that one there? Oh, there we are. Burning. We were allowed to burn then. We've got a pit out the back still. Oh, and that's when I was part owner in a shop for a while.
Oh, really? Tell me about
We
it.
made sewed uniforms.
Ah, yes. And this is one of your...
That was one of our creations, and that was Marble Range training jacket. We made all their training jackets for them.
Because you'd been involved with Marble Range since... Because you're a waybacker.
My father was a waybacker.
Well, myself, I didn't start until 31, until 11, 15. That started.
And he played for Waybacks. His two brothers played for Waybacks, and his eldest brother, Eric Lowe, was best and fairest for the association.
Clive Goodwin was another young chap about my age who played in that area. And the first game that he played, he went out and asked Eric what he wanted to do, what he wanted him to do. Eric said, get the ball, drop it in the ground.
There's my dad and mum.
There you go. So logically, you would have gone to Waybacks.
Went to Waybacks, but then I married a South.
A South, because Wally played for South.
He played for South. I never saw him play, but he was a B grader. But because he was in the taxis, he didn't have time to train. So he says he wasn't much good, but I believe he was. So then
he's pretty hard at it, I think. So you went to South.
He went to South, but when we had children, Kevin tried to get a game with Tasmans, Waybacks, Tasmans, Souths, and none of them were interested. They just, he was a little kid sitting on the bench. They didn't take any notice. So Graham Charlton, Helen's husband, when they got married, he said, well, come out and play football for Marble Range with Uncle Graham. And that's what we did. A good move.
Tell me about Uncle Graham.
Well, Graham Charlton won male medals.
Just one or two, or three, or four.
And in his day, yes. And so we were there, or James Ross and a lot of older identities out at Marble Range were getting the Colts going. And we came along with 5 boys. Do you know what? My dad was a waybacker.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, actually, I did know that.
And Graham Charlton was a waybacker.
Yeah.
And he came to Marble Range when they started up again.
Yeah.
And that's how we came to be out at Marble Range. He said to Kevin went and watched Tasmans. Wally played for South.
Yeah.
He went to Waybacks, he went to South, he went to Tasmans.
Yeah.
No one asked him to join them.
Yeah, okay.
And Graham said, come out and play with the Marble Range. Come and play with Uncle Graham.
Yeah.
So that's how we came to be a Marble Ranger.
Yeah, good.
So all our 5 boys come up through the ranks.
And then the grandkids?
Now the grandkids, and now the great-grandkids. So
yeah, any great-grandkids at Marble Range yet? Oh, you do? Obviously.
Yes.
Dinnor's kids. Yeah, Joe's kids.
Yeah, and got one in the Little Minis as well.
Yeah, nice.
And but I'm a little bit upset at a certain club at the moment, because that certain club and others in the league, we were struggling for players. And if we did get a good player, they'd nab them. Our boys would play with 14 players, 15 players. If we could get them, we'd pick them up on the way. Big Swamp, we used to pick up a Willis boy. We used to have Stephen Plout. My dad would do this because Kevin was playing for Marble Range, so my dad looked after him. Wally looked after Wayne, David, Grant and Paul, and I looked after netball. So I had a few years in the association with netball.
Which club?
For their girls. Coles.
Coles, yeah.
It was Coles in those days. And they, in 1976, Coles beat Imperial's F grade in a grand final. Fantastic. And that was really good because I had 2 daughters playing in it. That was really good. Kevin would celebrate if they won a goal, if they kicked a goal. They never won any games. The other teams rubbished the Marble Range players, and it was disheartening.
And I believe that they would insist on playing a full team against a depleted Marble Range team.
They did, every time. And one lad came and bragged on our front fence once. He was going out with one of our daughters, and he said, "Ha, we kicked 28 goals against you today and you didn't score." Well, this old elephant's got a long memory.
Did he keep going out with the daughter?
Yes, he did for a while.
Really?
Yes,
he did last?
Yes, he did. Yeah, for a little while. But I was really disappointed in his attitude. And now that certain club can't field teams themselves, so therefore other clubs that have got teams are suffering for non-playing.
And those clubs, I know, have little sympathy.
Have little sympathy. I do have sympathy for the original members that created that club and worked so hard to get it going. And because they've got no, where have they got? They've got no club rooms, they've got no supporters. There wasn't hardly any supporters there yesterday.
No supporters, not many players either.
And not many players. And it's sad when you've lost your middle part of any team or association or family, there's a gap.
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it? But obviously there's been a strong sense of family out at Marble Range, at Wangari. Tell me about that.
Well, I was secretary of the Football League with the junior, with Andy Page when he was president. And I loved it. I was really involved and I really enjoyed it, and I've got a plaque out there somewhere. Because I was following my kids and Wally was following his kids. In the end, yes, once the girls grew up. So it was a pleasure to have 5 boys playing for Marble Range.
And they played obviously a lot of games. Tell me about some of the best games. Obviously you've got some footage there. What were some of the best moments, the best things they did? Yes.
They won their first premiership, but that was after we came back from Sojourner. And yes, that was a brilliant day.
Who'd they beat?
We won by a point.
A point?
Against South. I think we'd beaten them once through the year. I think. I'm not sure on that now. I mean, that's a long time ago. And no, it was 83. There's a photo out there. You can take a photo of it. We beat South by a point, and we had 2 boys playing in it. And I can still see young lads standing up in the goal square. The ball came up for South to get a goal, and there was no Souths around him, and he marked it in the goal square. And one of the coaches yelled out, "Kick it out on the wing!" And he kicked it out on the wing, and the siren went. Yeah, that was wonderful that day. It was. Actually, the under-17s got drunk that night.
As they would have, Beth. As they would have. Acknowledging services to the Marble Range Football Club.
Yes.
We might have to go and have a bit of a chat with Andy again, I think, which should be good, and Wally Sampson, because I believe there is even the Wally Sampson car park.
Yes, there is.
Something I have to get a picture of, yeah.
There is.
Because Wally cooked out there for a long time.
Wally and I both cooked.
Oh, you both?
Yes, I went and helped in the kitchen because we'd go to every training. Our boys were involved and we followed them. And we'd go to training, we'd come in for tea afterwards. Those ladies in those days cooked on the gas stoves that were in the kitchen, and they had great big cooking pots, and they'd have mashed potato, they'd have pumpkin, they'd have cauliflower, and they'd have peas. And we would dish up from those big saucepans and hand it over. And there's one chap I know who doesn't eat cauliflower, and I still remember he doesn't eat cauliflower. I can name him, but I won't embarrass him. Anyway, we served up from this centre bench that they had, and did the washing up by hand.
Yep.
And Wally had come out and helped with the dishes. And there were a couple of other men that used to come out and help him. Lance Puckridge, I can't bring to mind names. But Mona helped in the kitchen. Glad Bullock, I think it was. Joan Morgan. Yes. Sad, I can't remember their names. But we did that for about 27 years. And then, in the meantime, those older ladies retired. Others took over the management. But we still worked in the kitchen. We'd get there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and start cooking veggies. And then as we progressed, we had a bain-marie. And so we'd do all that and put them in the great big pans, and they served themselves instead of us serving up.
But of course, it's you talk about Wally and Lance coming and helping with the dishes. It's really mostly the women who make those footy clubs work so well, isn't it?
Oh, and we had a canteen out there. I never worked in the canteen then because there was the Pitchfork Gang virtually did that. Joan Morgan, Ida Hull, Adeline Shepherd, Mona, all those older people of our club, they had a wood stove, and they used to make pasties and take them down in cakes and sell them in the canteen, and that's how we got started.
Brilliant. And the Pitchfork Gang, of course, are legendary.
Gang, legendary, yes. And they're still named in the barbecue area. So
tell me about them.
Well, Joan used to, for a start, our barbecue out at Wangari, as I can remember it, as a new member and younger, there was a load of stumps near the side of the oval, near the timekeeper's box, and she used to cook the barbecue on that. She'd light a fire and have the chops cooking there. To start with, I think they had hot dogs, and the story is they were heating up the pot to put the hot dogs in, and that was over by the gate as you come in. There was a pine tree there that they're not allowed to remove because it was under that pine tree that they used to have their hot dogs. And apparently the dog got the hot dogs out of the box, and there's the dog running across the oval with the hot dogs in following. So that's what happened.
I heard a story about one of the Pitchfork Gang ladies running across the oval after a Tasman's player and giving him a wallopy one day.
Oh yes.
You remember that?
No, I don't remember that, but it is a story, and it would be true. But Joan always...
Because Tasman's players need a walloping.
Well, I think one fella went to a certain lady's funeral to make sure she went down because she'd given him that much cheek. But hey, they're the funny sides.
That's the flavour.
Yeah.
And the Pitchfork Gang were an important part of the flavour of Wangari, I gather.
Oh, they were the making of it with the men because that land was donated. And look at it today. I mean, if it wasn't for the volunteers, where would we be? But after we came back from Sejuna, also I was on the senior committee for a short while, secretary there. And then I was lucky enough to get awarded life membership, which I treasure.
That's magnificent. But quickly, can you tell me a bit about Graham Charlton and that family and how you're related? And
well, he married my sister.
Ah, yes.
And they had 5 children.
Who can all play?
He was on a farm, and he had 1 boy. We were in the city, and we had 5 boys and 2 girls. Very close knit because of our parents and our upbringing, and they went on to do great things in netball as well as our girls. Our girls played tennis and netball, and we've grown up close.
Actually?
Tennis.
That was Coles again with the netball?
That was Coles with the netball.
And the Charlton
But
girls?
the Charlton girls, no, they played Wanilla. They played for Wanilla because they lived out there.
Yeah, because I was going to say. And what competition were Wanilla playing then? Did they play in Lincoln then? Or?
Yes.
They did?
Yes, they did. Sorry, I'm not real clear on that. They may have played out there at Wanilla. I'm not sure because I wasn't involved with them. Right, yeah. And it was before my time for being involved with the Coles Netball Club.
Because it's one of those funny
now
things that football doesn't go with netball in Port Lincoln.
It did when I played.
Really?
When Helen and I played very few for Waybacks, but I don't count that as playing. Yes, the football was where the big car park is on the mound, near the schools, near the Flinders Theatre. The netball courts were there.
And so the netball...
was basketball in those days.
Oh, it's basketball, so the football clubs were all associated with the basketball club?
Yes.
They were?
They were, because it was Tasman's, Waybacks, Souths.
Yep.
But you'd have to speak to others that were involved.
No, that's interesting. I wasn't aware that they ever...
Yeah, there was, all the, and Mortlock Shield, all the tournaments were played down below, and my girlfriends run up the fence, look at the football, see how the football's going, run down and play football, netball, basketball. Yeah, so big progress.
So those courts were whereabouts, sorry?
Where the big car park is with the school and the Flinders Theatre down in that area.
Just there, yeah.
And then they built that mound up, yeah. And then from there they went to Curtin Point, and we were involved with Coles then. Yep.
And the clubs must have sort of separated out then. I guess maybe netball's growing and so more clubs were formed.
More clubs were formed because there was Imperials, there was Waybacks, there was Tasmans, there was Souths. Boston's came into it later, and Coles, just to name a few of them. So Wally and I and the kids all helped build up those courts up there at Curtin Point. But once the girls were able to, they grew up, and when we left Sojourner, we didn't have contact with netball, so I kept following the football. And then I did manage the canteen for 3 years in later years, and I enjoyed that when we went out to Dutton to live. And from there I progressed to the barbecue. And now I've retired from the barbecue.
Now you have?
I have retired from the barbecue.
How long have you been? Well, when did you retire from the barbecue?
Last year.
Last year, yeah.
Because I was going to spend more time with Wally, because he needed more time and care at football, but sadly he's unable to go to football, and so I could have kept cooking. But I now cook the chips in the morning, and my grandson said that the chips that he bought last week weren't nearly as good as Grandma's. Oh, gosh, kids.
You ever have your photo taken by Volley Linpier? Remember old Volley at the time?
Yes, I remember Volley. No.
What do you remember about him?
He was a man ahead of his time, I think. He did a good job for the times. He really did. And the Hill family, yeah. Other than that, I don't remember a lot.
You know much about Joan? In fact, I must go and catch
her. She was a Hill. She lives in Adelaide now, I think.
Oh, she's in Adelaide now, is she?
I think. I haven't seen her for a long time. Marlene, who lives just around the corner here, she married John. So
I think I would know Marlene.
She used to work in the office. Yeah.
I know her. I should drop by and say hello, actually.
She's just around. Well, I don't know whether she's here or not, but at the moment. So I haven't had a chance really to get a lot of
Right, well let me get
photos.
a copy of all these photos.
Oh, there's that. Oh,
And I'll bring
there's
them back.
Fiona and Buff. Fiona and Tanya were debutantes in Sojourner, and Fiona was chosen to cut the celebration cake. This chap's still a Marble Ranger.
His name is?
Don.
Don. He looks like a bit of a legend.
Oh, he is a legend. God, you've picked me on a bad morning. I can't think.
Right.
Don Edmonds.
Don Edmonds, he is a bit of a legend.
Yes, he is.
There he is again.
There he is again.
Hairy chest.
We've also got a volunteer's certificate given to us by Rowan Ramsey, Wally
really?
and myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's about all I can say, Craig.